Thank you, Peter. And if all goes well, we should now see a list of questions popping up on the screen. So I will ask all industry partners to be ready. And Niels, there are still quite a lot of questions coming to your direction, I think, as well. Okay, there we go. Okay, so it's I think we have a new record on level of questions, so that's always a good sign. So where should I start? Maybe I go to the first question. It's maybe both for industry partners and Niels, and I think it's maybe a challenge up to you, or we can challenge you in the sense that if you want to go to a decarbonized building stock, and if you want to play advocate of the devil, we can say that 30 to 70% is not sufficient. So how do you foresee to go to net zero or to 80% savings? Is this foreseen in the project or not? And I leave the floor open to any of you to answer this question. If not, maybe Niels or Alex, maybe you first, and then.
Hello?
Yes, Alex, please take the floor. Thank you.
Yes, it's our point is that BetterHome is about having a consumer-centric approach to help people achieve what they want themselves. So it's clear that net zero building, nobody says, even in the industry, nobody says we need the entire building stock to be net zero. It is possible for new build for a share of the building stock, but to decarbonize, to reach our 2050 goals, if you look at the roadmaps that were published by the European Commission, it's clear, and it's not realistic, that we don't need net zero of 100% of the building stock. So we believe that the achievement performed by BetterHomes between 30 and 70%, meaning on average 50%, is a very good performance.
Okay, thank you, Niels. And I don't know, sorry, thank you, Alex. And I don't know if Niels is still there. I think you are. But before, well, Alex, I would maybe like to stay with you and the other industry partners about the fifth question. Did the founding companies sign the memorandum of understanding, and how do they manage to share knowledge? How is trust ensured?
Niels, do you want to reply? Might be easier. It's via the board of BetterHome.
Yes, they really did. In the starting, it was in the Danish Energy Association. We started the project after a very intense cooperation and teamwork between the four founding companies and with the facilitation from the Danish Energy Association. And this was a cooperation leading to a memorandum of understanding. And well, how do they manage to share knowledge? We actually don't move into the IPR protected areas of the companies, but what we work with that is very confidential is more or less the private homeowner data, and this is protected by the act of how to assure confidentiality in that and how to handle that. So well, the BetterHome is owned by the four companies, and we actually don't have any challenges in handling that. We more or less use the very strong and reliable products from the four owner companies, but we do not interfere in development and future developments in this area. There's a lot of opportunities already with the present products on the market.
Okay, thank you, Niels. And well, because of the load of questions, we will keep the webinar open until 3:45, sorry. Niels, can you take maybe the three next questions in one go, because it's all more or less related. So if the installers meet the owners, the homeowners, is the first proposal for free? What is the fee? Then the second question, how do you convince landlords to renovate? I don't know if the person asking this question means like persons owning different homes or just a homeowner as such. And then the third question is, do you consider working as an ESCO? And with an ESCO, I think the question is there, do you foresee to provide a kind of energy performance contracting? Because as we see the ESCO market for now, for the private homes, it's quite difficult to do so. So if you can handle these three questions, thank you.
The first question was meeting with homeowners and giving proposals for free or with a fee. It is definitely for free. What our analysis showed from the beginning that one of the barriers is when we want in the business to consumer interaction, that we want something getting paid in the beginning. We do that in the B2B transactions, but not with homeowners. So this is for free, and we do that with love, because when we just have made our proposal, well, then our expectation or history is showing that the conversion rate into order is very, very high. So it is proposals for free, definitely. What are the Better Home strategies to convince landlords to renovate? Well, we are actually starting in the larger multi-family areas. We are starting with looking on the heating system, because this is the hidden system in these big buildings, and it is a very important place that is controlling both the energy efficiency of the building, the net energy efficiency, but it's also controlling the comfort level in each apartment or room. And so we'll start with a free check of the heating installation, and this is actually one of the notches that brings the big multi-family homes into action. And do you consider working as an ESCO? Well, I've been asked that a lot of times, and when we began this, there was large pension companies that was approaching us. But the challenge is that there's a lot of complexities in providing a renovation project, and actually the money is there right now, and the next 3 years, it's actually a challenge to get the private consumer using money and making loans and all that. So right now we don't need this very, very complex financial system. It is an interesting element for the multifamily homes, different funding techniques and ESCO or half ESCOs, and there's a lot of interesting things there. But right now we do not see the challenges in the multifamily home area, but we will do that in the future. We expect that, and ESCO is one of the models. Next step is to go international. Are you exploring specific regions currently? Well, we are looking on EU, definitely. There's a tremendous need of energy refurbishments in whole EU, either to keep the cold out or keep the cold in, and so on. So there's a lot of challenges in this, or to keep the home acoustically safe and with a lot of light and so on. So we don't have specific regions apart from the EU right now, but we definitely think that concepts like Better Home has a future in large parts of the world.
Okay. I think the next two questions you answered already in the session before. Maybe about the question if it is not biased to have an industry-led approach. Well, how does this link to trusting or to create trust, actually?
This is number, I'm sorry?
Sorry. Is it not biased to have an industry-led approach like this one? How do the users know you are not biased to sell your products? Can installers use other products? I think you more or less gave the answer, but you maybe can go a little bit deeper in it.
We do what we can to present our products. In the beginning, one of our precautions was, is this too commercial? But we have realized that it's all about reliability in this area, and the products from the four owners are very, very reliable products. So it's actually, well, we have 2 complaints where the customer didn't get our products presented in the proposals. So that's one of the stories. But if an installer, if an end user wants something else, it was previously in the facade windows, we accepted it because we are an end user driven concept. But definitely in a lot of situations, there's a very high level of loyalty into the 4 founding partners' products.
Okay, thank you. And I want to jump a little bit lower to the question, when are the architects involved in the project? From which side? Is it the homeowner or the installer side?
It is definitely from the homeowner, and they are typically involved in two cases. When it is a very, very radical rebuild, more or less to the ground, then, or when we, for example, need to combine a house with a section from the 50s, from the 60s and 70s into a common solution, then we need an architect. And then we have what we call the more legal treatment of the building approval from the municipality. Then we typically need an engineer or architect to make these papers. But it is ordered from the homeowner, and often with a piece and advice from the installer where to go. But it is an interaction between the homeowner and the architect.
Okay, and then that is very much linked to the question, if do you encounter houses that are structurally unsound or with works that are not compliant with building regulations? How does BetterHome deal with these house types? So that's relevant to that as well.
Well, we respect that the house is actually owned by a house owner, so we cannot make any dictate. But very often we actually see houses founded on very poor building solutions, and then the psychology begins, because we want to not to leave a client or customer with a poor solution. So we try to make as good a solution on the long run as possible, and respect that sometimes it's not possible, maybe due to financials, maybe due to the building of awareness from the end user, and that's a part of our future development, that we want actually to improve this awareness building into the house owner. But okay, our measure is to never leave a house that actually needs a lot better solutions.
Okay, thank you, Niels, and I will try to give you a break and shift to a question to Peter Wouters and all others. Peter, do you do any kind of data-driven quality checks, or is it mainly by on-site visits?
Well, I think from the question is here that so are there quality frameworks which are making use of data-driven checks? I think there are some, and in particular where you communicate, let's say, measured data. Take, for example, measured airflow rate. I think there, if you are a quality organization, I think you can try to develop algorithms whereby, based on the data you receive, you do targeted checks. Assume, for example, that if you have requirements, like, for example, a bedroom 50 cubic meters per hour, and you find that some installers always exactly report 50 cubic meters per hour for different homes. I think that can be an indication that there is something not correct. It can also be that you try to have focus checks based on what you have found by previous controls. For example, if you do an on-site inspection, that you find certain, let's say, non-compliance issues, and that you use this data to go to more other checks specifically. But I think it depends on the context. If the checks are basic, let's say on-site are basically looking to are the work correctly done, I think then it's not so evident to really work with data. But there are a few examples where people indeed try to, let's say, work based on the data collected.
Okay, thank you, Peter. And I'm maybe asking if somebody of the industry partners wants to take the floor to continue on the quality aspect, or any of the other questions asked here. From Alex, Suzanne, Katrien, or Emil, do you have anything to add on any of the questions or on the quality aspect?
No.
Well, I can add that we actually have an app in BetterHome that we use, where we document the project before startup and after the installation, and that's actually one of our quality measures to follow what was the situation before and what is the situation after the installation, because it is actually a challenge for the good installers to make this quality documentation of what is happening. They do take the photos, but they do not remember where the photos is. But we help them in organizing that in a very simple way, combining that with how they promote their business in BetterHome.
Okay, thank you, Niels. And then actually I want to give also the last question there, because I also had a question relevant to that with reference to the finance side. Could we say that BetterHome, sorry, oops, it's shifting. Could we say that BetterHome mostly increases confidence towards technical investments thanks to the reputation of the 4 partners and the competences behind their brands? And there, maybe my additional question is: when you spoke with the banks, from what moment did they show interest? Did you have the system working completely, or was it more a level of trust because of this industry being involved?
Well, from there's a couple of banks, and 2 of the banks actually had chosen to start the cooperation when we were also in a very initial stage. But now, after 3 years, we now have strong bank partners where we have developed a lot of how to cooperate. And I know that one of the questions is, where does the customers actually come from? And a large part of our customers comes directly from the banks after the homeowner has had a kind of consulting on how to develop the economy. Then the bank advisor suggests that the end user or the homeowner continues in BetterHome in order to get an important life change and a very valuable way of investing their money compared to shares and all and pension funds and so on. Actually, the thing that you invest in your own house is a very important economical action.
Okay, thank you. And if you still have some energy left, Niels, also
yes.
Excellent. Maybe the last question: is BetterHome targeted a specific house type with a target solution, or is it open to the market? And maybe you can combine that with a third last question. In BetterHomes, as a homeowner analyst, always have just one single contract with the lead installer, with any others brought in as subcontractors?
When we started up in this in BetterHome, we actually held a focal group called the 50, 60, 70 years houses that was built in a period with growth and wealthiness in Europe, and were made very quickly and actually more or less standardized houses. So they are easy to refurbish. But actually, our experience is that we have a lot of different customers and a lot of different buildings from before the last century and you know, protected houses. We also have houses newer than 80s. We have houses about 2005 because they have now windows that are 10, 15 years old, and they can save about 30–40% on changing the windows in itself, or they want new heating systems or a new heat pump instead of oil or whatever. Well, we are actually now realizing that we don't have a focal house type or segment. We more or less have to be able to cover all different houses, and the good products from the owners, well, we are able to solve a lot of challenges in many ways. So well, we don't have a focal building type right now, and we are both working with one-family houses and multi-family houses and the buildings related to that, and later on the commercial houses or commercial building story.
Okay, thank you. And questions keep on coming in. I think how do they know that they are paying the right price? I think that is covered already. But then the second question about the innovative business model could be defined as a facilitator role. Personally, I think it's more than that. But then there is a question if the public authority is providing already such services.
Could you put, I cannot, please put the pointer on the question.
The second question, this innovative business model could be defined as a facilitator role. So that's the question.
Yeah, well, we believe that we have a very strong facilitator role, and actually our whole system is on keeping the homeowner on track in the decision of getting a new renovated house, and assist the installer in remembering this client journey, which might be something like Grand Canyon if nobody assists these very stressful installers. So we have a very, very strong facilitator role in assuring this business is up and running with tools that are very cost effective.
Okay, thank you. And then I think most questions are answered. Maybe the last one there. Who pays for your time to spend extra time on these solutions?
Who pays for your time to spend extra time on these solutions? Well, actually, it is all our costs are paid from our owners, and that was what Alex said was in balance with the earnings. So you could say that the earning on the products are paying our time. So and we actually have developed a platform where we do not pay each other on the platform. We don't pay the installer. We don't pay the banks don't pay us, and so on. We actually have a platform where you generate your business and within a frame of how to facilitate this inactive market, of this inactive multi-billion euro market. So this is what we think is the most viable way of attacking this market is right now. We don't want to earn money on each other unless we get an order where you get a refurbished house, energy saving, and you get a loan from the bank, and we sell some products. So this is the way we are running.
Okay, and then maybe just to end, last technical question: do you do LCCA of the building, life cycle cost analysis?
Yes, we are. Well, no, we do, but that's one of the future elements in this, because we want actually to. Well, we are discussing that we want to introduce traceability of each product, and also from a LCCA point of view, where when we refurbish the house we have refurbished today, and we need to refurbish it in 20 years or 30 years or 10 years, whatever, then we need to know what was actually installed in the building now 20 years ago, and how do we handle these products when we get them as waste, and how can we reuse the materials. So we actually working with some ideas on how can we trace the products that we build in today and assure that we are moving on to the resource economy agenda.
Okay, thank you, Niels. And then I want to thank you for answering most of the questions, and then I want to leave the floor maybe to the other speakers to reflect or give a last reflection regarding the current dialogue which is happening on the review of the EPBD. Does any of the industry partners want to have the floor for a last word?
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes, Alex, please go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, Alex, we hear you. Please go ahead. Okay. We hear Alex, but she doesn't hear us. Okay. Any other?
Okay, but but Susanne here. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah. Perfectly. Go ahead.
I think that the EPBD revision, it's really a great opportunity to create a better market and better market conditions for developing this kind of models, and especially by having a renovation roadmap now included in the EPBD. And also, we just have to say that our experience is that voluntary agreement is just less efficient compared to having mandatory requirements to the member states to put this in place, and it makes good sense. So I don't see any reasons for not doing it. I don't know if Alex is with us again.
Yes, you hear me?
Yes, we hear you fine.
Yes, for me, the EPBD is going in the right direction. As you know, the European Commission, when they did the analysis of the current EPBD, the main outcome of the analysis was that the EPBD has been extremely successful in targeting new buildings, but not yet the existing building stock. So I would say today there is a very high awareness among both the European Commission, but also all the governments of the 28 member states, that we need to focus much better on the existing building stock. And now we have clearly seen that the European Parliament has been working very hard to improve the building renovation strategies and to put some more guidance and KPIs and targets on what the member states must include in their building renovation strategies. And we believe it goes really in the right direction, because as I said, for initiatives like Better Homes to flourish, we need a strong and stable regulatory framework.
If I can add a few words as well, just to complement what the other two have just said. We of course also hope for binding targets and clear directions to the member states, and we totally agree that the existing building stock is where the focus should be. As mentioned also in my presentation, we see the holistic approach, so focus on health, comfort, and well-being as key aspects to get the renovation going on in member states in Europe.
Okay. If there are no additional feedback from you guys and ladies, thank you very much. I really want to thank especially Niels, Alex, Susanna, Katrien, Emil, and Peter, and special thanks to the Builder platform. And Alexander, if I'm correct, we will show now, to end actually the webinar, a short video on the Better Home initiative as we developed. And then, Alexander, I leave the floor to you, and thank you once more for setting this up and managing all this large amount of questions. Thank you. Bye.